Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday. We're live. How are you? Let me know in the comments. Can you see me well? Can you hear me well? Is everything working properly? Before we dive in and I answer your questions, I can see some questions already here. Great. We're going to get to everything. And also, we're going to talk about quitting smoking being easy. Who here would like for quitting smoking or vaping or nicotine to be easy? Let me know in the chat. Because, of course, that's the goal, to be easy. Because easy makes it sustainable and doable. Great. Okay. Let me read some comments. Make sure everyone is on the same page, that we're excited, enthusiastic, and ready to spend this time together. But I have one thing to ask of you. Very, very important. I want you to be engaged, be present for this experience, because we remember more with active listening as opposed to just passively listening, right? So we want to do active listening here. What does this mean? If I ask a question, type your answer in the chat. If I ask you to repeat something, repeat it, share, comment. Now, why do all that, even if it's inconvenient? You're doing this for you, because you're spending this time here. But by being engaged, you will make the most out of our time together. And I want this to be a fun, interactive experience. Fair? Okay, great. So, quitting smoking, quitting vaping, quitting nicotine being easy. That's the goal. So, before I share with you three things you need to know that make quitting smoking, quitting nicotine easy, I have a question for you. What does easy mean for you personally? If you were to ask yourself, and I invite you to do this for a moment, ask yourself this question: how would it look like for me if quitting smoking was easy? What would be different for me? What would I experience, or what would I not experience? Now, why am I asking you this? Because very, very often, without having a clear intention, a clear representation of what we want, then we cannot get it. Or we get it and we don't know we got it. So it's very, very important to start with that intention, because we cannot hit the target that we cannot see. So let's first start by putting the intention. What would it mean to you for quitting smoking to be easy? Would it mean to have no cravings? Would it mean to not be irritated and irritable and lashing out? Would it mean to not have painful withdrawals like brain fog? Would it mean to not have to fight with willpower every single day of your life and then relapse? Would it mean to be around other smokers and not feel deprived or like you're missing out? What would it mean to you? Very, very important to do that thought experiment. I'm reading the comments: not thinking or craving cigarettes, not talking myself into smoking. Very good. Very good. And better yet, knowing how to dismiss those thoughts. But that's a great goal. Easy without the desire, pain, and temptation to light up. Great. Very specific. It would mean victory. Yes. Great. Well done, everyone. So, what makes quitting smoking easy? The first thing and the most important thing, I'm going to share that. 3 things that make it easy, and then I'm going to be answering your questions in the meantime. Okay? The first thing that makes quitting smoking easy, it's something almost everyone misses out. I have fallen into this trap as a smoker. So when I was a smoker and I was trying to quit smoking, and I was telling myself every day, because as a young psychologist, I was struggling to quit smoking, and I was telling myself every day, how can you really help other people when you can't even help yourself? I was feeling like a failure, like an imposter, weak, like horrible feelings, the guilt, the conflict, the self-pity. It was my daily reality. And I was trying to quit smoking by using willpower, by not buying cigarettes, by putting on a nicotine patch or chewing a nicotine gum, or by chewing normal gum. And it was working for a little while, but sooner or later, what happened? I wanted a cigarette, and nothing could stop me from going and buying one. Even if it was 2 in the morning, I had those smoke or die moments. Have you ever had those smoke or die moments? Like, I have to smoke. I'm seeing red. I cannot communicate. I don't want anything else other than a cigarette. Who can relate to this? So, why does this happen? And if that has happened to you, why? Quitting smoking is hard when we just treat the symptom and not the core problem. So, what do I mean by that? When it comes to smoking, vaping, the nicotine addiction, the symptom is our smoking behavior, us picking up a cigarette and lighting it up or hitting the vape. This is the symptom. And the problem is we're trying to address the symptom. We're trying to make ourselves not touch a cigarette or not buy cigarette. But the problem is that if in our mind we're running the smoker's program, we think, we operate, we feel like a smoker, then it doesn't matter how much willpower we use. If cigarettes are next to us, eventually we will smoke. Think about it like this. Imagine you're under the weather, okay? You have a virus and you have some symptoms. You're not feeling well. You have fever, you feel achy, your bones are shaky, you're tired, and you have all those symptoms. I can start treating my symptoms, but if I don't remove the problem, the virus, eventually I will have those symptoms again. So the same thing happens with our nicotine addiction. If we just remove the symptom, like our smoking behavior, but not the problem, which is our mental addiction, our smoker's program, how much we believe we desire and need nicotine in our lives, how ingrained this is in our lives, our belief system, our emotional needs. If we don't change that, our operating system, then eventually we're going to smoke again. Does that make sense? The difference between the symptom and the problem. Let me know to make sure we're all on track here before we go to the next one. Yes, I'm saying. And yes, I can hold out for a few hours, but then I get this weird mental shift that tells me it's pointless to stop. Yes, that's a great example. So you try to stop, but in your mind, you still want it. And the mistake, and why this is a trap, the mistake we make is we think that if we resist it hard enough and long enough, eventually one day we're going to wake up and think like a non-smoker and not want it anymore. But time does not cure an addiction. If it did, then no one would relapse. Time is not enough because I can suffer through a long time. But if I suffer, if I still miss smoking, think like a smoker, every time that something happens in my life, I tell myself, oh, how much better this would be if I had a cigarette, or I wish I had a cigarette. And mentally, I live a smoker's reality. Then it doesn't matter how long I push through. Eventually, my actions, my behaviors will start aligning with that reality. In psychology, there is the principle of consistency, of internal consistency, which says this: we're always going to behave in alignment with our identity. So if I think of myself as a smoker, if I think like a smoker, if I cope in my mind like a smoker, and I always want to reach for that cigarette that I don't have, if that's my internal state, then sooner or later, my behaviors will be aligned with that internal state. So that is why the key is to change our mental addiction and change it. I mean, release it, let it go. reprogram our mind back to that of a non-smoker. Because when we have that internal shift, when we change things at the core from the root, then automatically our behaviors will change. But if we think like a smoker, but try to act like a non smoker, and we don't change our operating system, then we're going to experience internal inconsistency. And that's a very, very, very stressful state. We cannot maintain it. And that's why time alone doesn't change us into a non smoker. And of course, we all know someone who says, I quit smoking 30 years ago and I crave a cigarette every single day. We all know at least a person like that, right? And of course, when we hear that, we're thinking, I don't want that. I don't want to spend the next 30 years of my life craving a cigarette every day. But this is not how quitting smoking is supposed to be like. And also, very, very important to understand, there are people who take a lot of significance by stating how hard it is something that they did. So let's take everything with a grain of salt and really focus on our goal to make quitting smoking easy, because easy means it's sustainable. Easy doesn't mean it doesn't need commitment. Now, we have to be honest here, honest and fair and precise. Quitting smoking being easy doesn't mean magic, doesn't mean no commitment. It just means that I don't miss it, that I'm able to choose a life free from nicotine, that I have freedom. It doesn't mean that I wake up and poof, it's gone. No, it needs commitment. And in fact, committing to quitting smoking is part of what makes it easy. Because think about it like this. This is a very, very important point. If you get nothing else from today, get this. If I spend so much energy towards smoking or vaping or nicotine, my addiction, because we all spend a lot of energy towards our addiction, right? When can I smoke? Do I have enough? All the health anxiety it's causing me. Every time I have a chest pain, I'm having health anxiety and catastrophizing that I'm having a heart attack. Makes me feel bad. This is smoking, apart from the financial cost, it has a lot of cost on our mental health, our social health, our health, everything. We give a lot of energy towards our addiction. That's a fact. Now imagine we give zero energy to overcome our addiction, and we just hope it's going to disappear. We just hope we're going to listen to a hypnosis tape and it's just going to disappear. Or we're going to slap on a nicotine patch or take a pill and it's going to disappear. Apart from the fact that those things don't work, here's another reason why they don't work. Because when I give zero energy, like the bare minimum towards overcoming my addiction, what am I telling my addiction? That it's not that important to me, that quitting is not that important to me. Because we vote with our energy and our attention. We show our brain what matters to us based on our energy and our attention. If I give so much energy towards smoking and zero energy towards quitting smoking, what do I show my brain? That I value smoking more. So automatically, I'm having those internal obstacles because my brain knows that I'm not taking this very seriously. So if nothing else, we have to invest some energy into quitting smoking to show our brain that, hey, this is serious and it's happening. So back to our point number one. Do you remember what it was? We have to treat the symptom. We have to treat the problem, not the symptom. We have to remove the problem from the root, not just try to treat or stop the symptom, because it's going to come back if we don't remove the problem. Make sense? Now, the second thing. Actually, before I go to the second one, let me see some questions. Let me see. Why do I have such an immense desire to light up after 7 or 8 hours of not smoking? So I think we covered that a little bit, but that's a great question. There are two aspects of the nicotine addiction: the mental and the physical. The mental also includes the behavioral component of smoking. The physical addiction is a very small part of the nicotine addiction. It's like 20%, 10%. It's not quantifiable, but it's very, very small. Here is why. Because nicotine is weak. It takes 3 to 5 days for nicotine to completely leave our body. And every hour or so, after every cigarette, almost 50% of the nicotine has left the body. So it is a fast removing drug. That's why we need so many cigarettes during the day. So here's why I'm telling you this. We're experiencing those physical withdrawals every hour or so. And many times they go unnoticed. That's why we can sleep. We're not being woken up by our physical cravings, even though they're happening. Why? Because the physical addiction is very weak. Yes, maybe we wake up to drink water or go to the bathroom and we remember that we haven't smoked and go and light a cigarette, but we don't wake up because of our physical cravings. What makes us want a cigarette, what makes us suffer, is not a physical addiction, it's the mental addiction. Is how much we believe we enjoy or need smoking, how ingrained it is in our lives, how much part of our identity it is. This is the mental addiction. How much we want it, the value we assign to that drug. With zero IQ, but we assign it so much value, and that's where the mental addiction lives. So if I can go 7 or 8 hours and then I start having a complete desire, irresistible desire that I want to smoke, this is the mental addiction at play. That's why. It's because we're trying to stop smoking, stop the smoking behavior, the symptom, but we have not addressed the problem, which is the mental addiction. So that's the problem. That's the solution to overcome the mental addiction. Yes, I'm also using cigarettes as a way to dampen emotions. Yes, that's also part of the mental addiction. Because as smokers, we train ourselves to reach for a cigarette the moment we experience any sort of discomfort. As a result of this, we teach our brain that I cannot cope without a cigarette. That becomes part of our programming and our mental addiction. And in actuality, we actually never give ourselves the opportunity to learn other ways to cope with our emotions. But our emotions, what I tell our members in the CBQ program, is that our emotions are not created inside the cigarette. They're created inside of us. Let me ask you this question for everyone. Has this ever happened to you? This happened to me many years ago, and I still remember it. What happened to me, and tell me if you can relate, is I had told myself I'm going to quit smoking. I told myself, you're going to quit smoking, you're not going to buy cigarettes, just push through, just do it, take it seriously, go for it. Like, you have to do this. And I started having the morning after horrible, horrible cravings, like those smoke or die moments that I mentioned before. I was like, and I started catastrophizing. I started having mental cravings. I'm never going to relax. I'm going to overeat. I'm never going to feel better. I'm going to have a crisis, a panic attack. I was having all those thoughts. I'm not going to be able to focus. I'm going to lash out to everyone. Those are mental cravings. So I was drowning in my thoughts, those mental cravings. And I said, okay, I'm going to buy cigarettes. And the moment I allowed myself to go outside to buy cigarettes, what happened? Immediately, I felt better. I hadn't smoked a cigarette yet. I didn't have cigarettes in my hands. I had to go outside and buy them. But the moment I allowed myself to feel good, that I said, okay, you're going to smoke, I immediately felt good without the cigarette ever touching my mouth. Why does this happen? Because our emotions are not created inside the cigarette. They're created inside of us. So the moment I shifted my thoughts and I soothed myself mentally with a promise of a cigarette, I felt better. But I could have felt better by soothing myself with a different promise without the cigarette. So our emotions are not created inside the cigarette. It is our thought patterns and our habits and how we are used to coping and thinking that make us see cigarettes and seek cigarettes as the solution to every single problem we have. So the solution is not having no emotions, being a master in managing emotions. No, the solution is changing our programming around cigarettes. Does that make sense? Is that clear? Great, I'm seeing I can relate. Let's see, is it true that nicotine ruins the reward system? It's true. It's true, but let's define ruins. When I start taking nicotine and any drug, it starts messing up with my dopamine pathways and my dopamine regulation. So, with time and repetition, I start relying on nicotine to feel good. And I develop tolerance to the drug. So, I don't anymore get that dopamine buzz. I just take nicotine to feel normal, to avoid feeling off, to avoid feeling discomfort. So, it's like I am hooked on that drug for me to feel normal. So it doesn't even enhance my reward system or my dopamine. It's just that I have taught my brain to regulate dopamine when nicotine is present. So from that perspective, it steals our happiness in a way. It's like it's like a machine that we're hooked on to feel normal. But here's what happens, because I always have good news for you. It's not ruined. Our dopamine system is not ruined, but after quitting smoking, it needs some time to start regulating so it won't be relying on nicotine anymore to feel good. And research shows that it takes about 90 days for our dopamine pathways to start heal and be regulated without relying on nicotine anymore. So our brain heals, our system heals. There is a period where we have to go through that healing, but it heals. Nothing is ruined. But as long as we take the drug, yes, it is ruined. And the worst thing that happens is when we rely on nicotine to feel normal, when our brain, the release of dopamine in our brain relies on nicotine, what happens is that we never experience true joy and happiness. We just have a sort of baseline of how not craving feels like. So there is no genuine joy and happiness as we would experience it if we weren't addicts. We just experience a state that's called not craving. And happiness and not craving are not quite the same, but we're so used to it as smokers. So 90 days after quitting, zero nicotine, our brain starts healing its dopamine pathways. Now, word of caution, I have to say that when our members and people in our community, in the CBQ community, they hear me saying that, they think, wow, do I have to suffer for 90 days until I feel normal? And the answer is no, because it's not about suffering 90 days and then waking up on day 91 and feeling amazing. We also have to, and we're responsible to help our brain heal as we're going through the first phase of our smoke free life, because our brain doesn't have different dopamine pathways for different activities. There's nothing special about smoking. So, as long as we focus on taking care of ourselves, focus on activities that release dopamine naturally, be that music, exercise, walking, we focus on those things, we're going to help our brain heal faster. So it's not about suffering through 90 days and waking up to a miracle. It doesn't happen like that. We also have to do our part and help our brain, which is the good news, because we don't have to suffer at all. Yes, so yes, our brain heals, nothing is ruined. Next question. I am in the process of using nicotine gum to quit vaping. Any tips or advice on this? I don't think it's something you normally recommend. Sorry if you are repeating yourself. No worries at all, Dave. Yes, you're right. I don't recommend that. And here is why. Because when we take nicotine gums, nicotine patches, nicotine pouches, any nicotine alternative, what happens is that we remain physically addicted to the drug. Most importantly, we remain mentally addicted to the idea that we need the drug to be normal and survive. And also, we maintain a part of our behavioral addiction. Because every time we have a trigger, oh, I'm stressed, I just had my coffee, oh, I need to focus now, we repeat that behavior in our mouth. Take the gum. So that's why I don't recommend it, because if you watched at the beginning of this live, we talked about how the difference between treating the symptom and the problem. When I take a nicotine gum, I'm treating the symptom, like I'm trying to replace the vape with a gum. Is it better technically? Of course, because you're not inhaling all those chemicals when you take the gum. But it's nevertheless treating the symptom, not the problem. The problem is your mental addiction, how the value you see in vaping, in nicotine. So, my advice to you is to start there. Start by recognizing, locating where the mental addiction exists and lives in your mind, in your life, in your psyche. Because without this understanding and working on that, it's going to feel like it's really, really hard. And you will be blaming yourself and feeling discouraged. And you don't have to feel like that. You can find success, but the mental addiction has to be part of that. Has to be part of that. So that's my advice. Make a list and ask yourself, this is the starting point, and this is for everyone, whether you're quitting smoking or vaping or nicotine substitutes. Start by listing, what value do I see in smoking or vaping? What do I believe this thing offers me? Sure, there are a lot of things that it's taking away, right? But there are a lot of things that, at least in your mind, you think it's offering you. And don't answer logically, because logically, maybe you know it offers me nothing. Like, trust your gut instinct and the first answers that come to mind. You wouldn't be smoking or vaping if you didn't believe it offers you something, even if that something is just, it's something to do with my hands, which there is always more to it, but even that is a value that you're saying in that vice. So start there. That's my advice. And if you want to learn more about how the mental addiction works, how the civic method works in overcoming it, please register for my free masterclass at civicuwebinar.com. I think you can find the link under this video as well. It's just going to give you the understanding of the internal workings of the addiction. And it's going to be a great first step for you to understand what needs to happen differently this time. So civicuwebinar.com. Okay, let me see the next question. Being a smoker at age 8, now I am 65. I have it in my mind I need to smoke. I live in Canada and most buy from our natives a $2 pack for a bag or $10 for 200 smokes per carton. Okay, so here's what I'm hearing. That you've been smoking for a long time. You see value in smoking because you're telling me that you're telling yourself that you need to smoke, and there is a rationalization that it's not that expensive for me. So the financial motive to quit is not there. So all I'm going to do is invite you to focus on what would change in your life if you were free. Yes, a part of you wants to smoke, but there is another part of you that wants to be free. It's the part of you that brought you here to this call, nudging you to ask this question, which means you're open to a different perspective. So yes, there is a part of you that wants to smoke. That's the addicted you. But there is another part of you that wants to be free, that brought you here. And that's the real you. This is what I call the smoker's conflict. As smokers, as nicotine addicts, we all have like two parts of our mind. And it almost feels like we have a split personality of sorts. This is the smoker's conflict. A part of us wants to smoke. The other part of us wants to be free. The addicted self, all it wants is to smoke the next cigarette, to take the next hit, to rationalize how horrible our life will be if we were to be free from addiction in a very convincing way. Or makes us rationalize as to why it's not, we are the exception and we will not succeed, or we are the exception and we don't really need to quit smoking. That's our addicted self, the workings of our addicted self. You can recognize that part inside of you. And we also have another part, which is the real self. This is the part of us that wants health and freedom and vitality and life and mental peace and freedom from inner conflict. and not have to think about smoking or quitting smoking anymore, and not have this health anxiety anymore, and the pride and the accomplishment of letting go of something that felt impossible to do. So I want you to focus on that part of you, and try to tune in and listen to that part of you instead of listening to what your addicted self says. Try to tune in to what your real self says and start there, because the financial cost of smoking is just a small part of the cost of this addiction. That is cost on our health, our mental health, our confidence, our time, the quality of time. Because when we're addicts, what happens is that our attention always is split between what we're doing and when we're going to have the next cigarette. So we're never really present. We're never really participating in our life fully, because a part of our mind is always thinking about the next cigarette, when we can smoke it. Did we smoke too much? Did we not smoke enough? Do we have enough? So we're never really enjoying and being present for our one precious life. So I want you to reflect on the cost of smoking beyond the financial, and what your real self is telling you about it. And this is a great exercise for everyone who feels like something inside me wants to quit, but I have all those rationalizations that stop me from making an effort or going all in and making a real effort. Because we've all tried to do half efforts, right? And we know the difference between a real effort and half doing it. Half doing it. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me read more. Oh, by the way, one more thing I wanna share with you. The other day, I had an interview with one of our members, Gary, and Gary was a smoker for 61 years. Just incredible. And I'm gonna launch that interview on the YouTube channel. And Gary, I asked him at the end, because he was a smoker for 61 years. I asked him, what would be your advice for people who have been smoking for a long time and they believe it's too late to quit smoking, or it's not worth it to quit smoking because I've smoked all my life now? And this is what he said. Are you ready for it? He said, I think it's worth it because it's all about meeting a new person, meeting a new version of yourself. Just because you lived a reality for a certain number of decades doesn't mean that you should forbid yourself from experiencing a different version of yourself, a different reality. So it's all about meeting a new version of yourself. So if nothing else, it is worth it. Because we've all heard that the past does not equal the future. So just because we've been a certain way doesn't mean we cannot be a different way and expand our reality and our reality of ourselves, our experience of ourselves. So it's worth it. Yes, our health is designed to heal, but if nothing else, it's worth it for our journey as a person on this life and on this earth. Okay, let me see more. So, does one have to do the program to let go of the mental program? I will when I can. So, I think you mean our CBQ Quit Smoking program. So, you all know the CBQ method. The CBQ method, the 4 stages of the CBQ method, that it took me 10 years to really figure out of my own struggle with quitting smoking. This is the blueprint of quitting smoking. But applying those 4 stages, going through those 4 stages, making sure you complete them properly, that's why I developed the CBQ Quit Smoking program. So the way we help people quit smoking step by step, how we take you through the method, is through the CBQ program, because the program makes the CBQ method actionable, where you have all the tools you need, you get the right information with the right exercise at the right time. So that's what a process means. It's not a collection of information or videos, it's a carefully, meticulously designed process where each step leads to the next one. So that's how we help people quit smoking with the CBQ program. All my videos is for information, education, inspiration, but the program is the transformation, how you do it. So I would never tell anyone that you cannot quit smoking alone, but if you want to follow the CBK method, remove the mental program with a process that has been crafted over a decade and refined, then the program is the way. It's worth it. You are worth it. And we also have a 60-day money back guarantee if you complete the program within 60 days and don't quit smoking. So you have that safety. The program is 12 days. So you have 60 days to go through it and really give yourself the chance to do it. So yes. Let me see the next one. When I'm awake, I can cope with quitting nicotine, but when I sleep every hour, I wake up with panic attack. Do you have any tips for this? It always hits when I'm unconscious. I should mention that I did your program. It helped a lot, but I cannot handle panic attacks at nights. When I smoke, I don't suffer this. So here's the thing. And I don't know if you've done our program or you've tried our videos that we have here on YouTube, but here's what you need to know. Smoking does not help with panic attacks because smoking, nicotine is a stimulant. So it doesn't help reduce and relax us. That's in terms of our physiology. If you already have existing panic attacks, and in your mind, you're feeling deprived when you don't smoke, that will intensify the fear of having panic attacks that causes panic attacks, because panic attacks are the fear of fear. And I understand this very, very well, unfortunately. So when in your mind you're thinking, you have that limiting belief, and you think that smoking helps you not have panic attacks, which is part of your mental addiction to smoking, then you are going to have panic attacks without it. But it is not because smoking actually helps, it's because we have the belief that it helps. So the idea that I cannot have it causes me the panic attacks. So I would take you back to really overcoming the mental addiction. This is something that's not addressed, and it will make a big difference for you if you address it. And this is addressed in the program. Our limiting beliefs, and start changing little by little the programming, because I can tell you in one sentence that nicotine is actually not helping the panic attacks, but this will do nothing unless you slowly release that belief from your life through the videos and the exercises that we have in the 12-day program. So this is a connection there that you have to release it, because as long as you believe that smoking cures or delays or helps you avoid panic attacks, then you're going to have that. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Nothing will break that unless your beliefs and your mental programming starts to change. Today's my second day on no dipping. Congratulations. In around, depending on how much you used to dip, in around the 5th day, you will be nicotine free. So congratulations. Keep going. Keep going. Next question. Do I need to reduce gradually and then quit? Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. I get that question all the time. So there's this long debate. Do I go cold turkey or do I reduce gradually? And there are pros and cons in both ways. Because with cold turkey, there is quitting abruptly, which means you're done. But this can cause intense symptoms for some people. With cutting down gradually, the pro is that it's a smoother transition. You don't feel like it's a big thing. But at the same time, if you're cutting down using willpower, you can feel more and more deprived, which eventually makes you want to smoke more and more and more and not quit. But here's the real problem with both of those ways. Whether you go cold turkey or you cut down gradually, none of those things are quit smoking methods or approaches. They're just different ways to remove nicotine from your body, all in one go or gradually. Think about it like this. If I say I'm going to quit smoking on Monday and I go cold turkey, what happened in my mind to change my mind How I relate to smoking, my mental addiction, nothing. So cold turkey is not going to make me a non-smoker. It's just how I choose to remove nicotine from my body. Same thing with cutting down gradually. Let's say I cut down from 20 cigarettes a day down to two. What's going to help me go from two to zero and maintain that? Nothing. Nothing about the cutting down helps me be a non smoker. It's just a way to remove nicotine from my body. The solution is what we were talking about earlier, to remove the problem, not the symptom. My mental addiction, how I think about, how I cope, breaking my habits little by little. This is what removes the problem. Once I overcome my mental addiction, once I reprogram my mind back to that of a non smoker, then it doesn't matter how I quit. I can go cold turkey and I can cut down gradually and I will be successful because I removed the real problem. So the answer is, once you overcome the mental addiction and you focus on that, you can either go cold turkey when you're done to quit smoking and it's going to last, it's going to stick, or you can cut down gradually. It depends on you. If you believe that you're someone who wants to have things done, one and done, you can. You can go cold turkey after overcoming the mental addiction. If you're someone that you prefer to see a little bit of progress and experiment with cutting down and learn from this, learn what makes you smoke more some days, what makes you smoke less some days, then you can do that. In our program, a lot of people cut down, and our program is a 12-day program. People cut down and they quit smoking on day 10. But there are many of our members who don't cut down at all. They even smoke a pack a day and normally on their quit date and just quit. Now, I suggest cutting down, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is doing the work, overcoming the mental addiction. So I don't want you to focus on the wrong thing and lead you down the wrong path. I want you to address the real problem so you can have success. And then whether you go cold turkey or cut down, you will be successful. Won't you suffer health scare if stopping cold turkey because I've been smoking for years? You won't. Nothing will happen if we go cold turkey. What happens is that if we're mentally addicted and we go cold turkey and mentally we feel deprived, we suffer, we feel like we're going to have a panic attack, and that's going to start affecting our body as well. We've had members, I said about Gary, and Gary is just one inspiring example, who have been smoking for 61 years. They went cold turkey basically, and they quit. And that was it. People have been smoking 2 packs a day for 50 years and didn't have withdrawals, because to address the withdrawal, we have to overcome the mental addiction and we also have to do some nutritional changes. This is part of what we research at CBQ, which is what I call silent withdrawal. How to have a silent withdrawal, which means that your body is healing in the background, because withdrawal is healing. Your body is healing in the background, but it does not disrupt and ruin your life, basically. So you can have healing without the horrible side effects. And this is a combination of certain nutritional changes and, of course, the release of the mental addiction. This is everything, because our mind affects our body. If I believe in my mind that something bad is happening to me, my body is going to experience something bad happening to me. Yes, is that clear? So don't worry, don't fear quitting smoking. Nothing bad will happen to you if you quit smoking. It's all about our mental addiction. It's smoking, nicotine. And I think that's very, very important to say. It's not like other addictions where the withdrawal can be harmful, like heroin addiction. The withdrawal in heroin addiction needs intervention. If someone has been an alcoholic at a high level, the withdrawal needs help. Not social drinking, but alcoholism. Nicotine addiction, it's not a problem. It's very, very mental. Doesn't mean it's negligible, but we need to know how to address it properly, because I can put on 10 patches and still suffer and want a cigarette like there's no tomorrow because I want it in my mind. I do not smoke during the office hours. However, while driving, I tend to wish to completely stop. Please guide. So it's great. It's great you don't smoke during office hours. And while driving, this is a symptom of our addiction. Back to what we have been talking about since the beginning of this hour. It's a symptom, a manifestation of how the addiction shows up in your life. I want you to start by thinking all the places that you tend to smoke, like driving. Maybe when I am winding down after a long day, maybe when I'm stressed with my morning coffee. Great where you don't smoke. That's something to take a lot of confidence from. But also, let's see where you do smoke to see where the addiction is alive in your routine, in your mind, and your psyche, and your emotions. And my guidance, as always, is the solution, which is to overcome the mental addiction. I know sometimes, and I'm not saying you're asking this, but I feel like I have to say that for everyone listening. Very often people ask me for the next hack and the next tip. Well, how can I hack my morning cigarette? How can I hack my smoking while driving? For example, how can I not smoke when I meet that friend who smokes? But those are not the problems. I can stop myself from smoking while driving and still go and smoke in the morning, because all those instances are symptoms, not the problem. It's what we talked about before with the virus. If I have a virus inside of me and I start having symptoms like I have the headaches and the pains, I can take a pill for the headaches, I can take another pill for the pain, but if I don't remove the virus, those symptoms will keep happening. Unless the virus goes away, the symptoms will be reappearing. The same way with our addiction. Unless I remove the mental addiction, the symptoms of my addiction, which is while driving, with my morning coffee, with social smoking, they're going to appear one way or another. So I'm not going to give a hack to not smoking while driving because I will be feeling that I'm leading you down the wrong path. The solution is to remove the virus, the mental program, the need to smoke in any situation, because once you remove that, automatically all the symptoms go away as well. So if you want to learn more about how the mental addiction works, go to cbqwebinar.com and register for my upcoming Quit Smoking Masterclass. We're going to talk about the 4 stages of the CBQ method, the truth about the mental addiction, some very, very insightful steps that can lead you down the wrong path. And we're also going to talk about, if you are interested in joining, and this is for everyone, if you're interested in joining our CBQ program, if you've seen people sharing their success stories and members and you want to join, we're also going to talk about at the end of the webinar how you could join with something very, very special and very, very exciting. But if nothing else, this masterclass can be the most important step you've taken towards your smoke-free life, because we're really going to dive deep and you're going to leave with a lot of moments. So I highly, highly recommend attending it. Like, don't miss out. It's very good. Let me see more. I've quit multiple times. The longest I was smoke-free was over 2 years. I've been told to investigate what caused me to relapse, but I honestly have no idea what causes it trying to quit again. What a great question. I am so glad you asked this. So glad. This is a brilliant question. So when we relapse, and I am someone who has relapsed so many times, let's just say that you are not alone. When we relapse, here's what happens. One of 2 things happen. Number one, option one, on the one side of the spectrum, is we completely block what happened. We're like, I have no idea what happened. It just came out of nowhere. It just hit me, and there is nothing I could have done. I cannot see it. I don't want to look at it. I just want it to not happen again and to be over. Like, that's the one side of the spectrum. I have no idea what happened. The other side of the spectrum, we internalize our failure. We're like, I didn't fail to quit smoking. I am a failure. I am weak. I am the exception. I will never do it. Everyone else can do it, but I cannot do it. So we have those 2 sides, and both are problematic. And here is why. When I have no idea what happened, here's what really happens in my psychology. What I'm telling myself is, I am always powerless. I can try to quit a million times, and there will always be something beyond my power and understanding that could cause me to relapse. I feel powerless. And when I feel powerless, I am not motivated or believing enough that I can quit again. So I don't quit again. And I'm half doing it, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. So understanding what happened is very, very important. So if I say, I don't know what happened, I'm causing myself to feel powerless and unmotivated and really losing my belief that I can do it, because anything can happen, according to me, that could cause me to relapse. So what's the point of even trying? You see how harmful that can be, right? And on the other side of the spectrum, where we internalize the failure and we start thinking, I am the exception, again, we create a very, very similar psychology of powerlessness. I cannot do it. I am the exception. I want to do it, but I cannot. And we stay in that belief. But the truth and the solution and the healing and the way forward is somewhere in the middle. What do I mean by that? We have to understand what happened so that A, we will have awareness that it was not something outside of our control, and awareness and consciousness. And B, so we will stop internalizing it. So we will know I did something wrong, not I am wrong. I lacked preparation, not I am the exception. You see the difference? Let me know if you see the difference here, because this is very, very important to understand. Because we've all experienced a lapse or relapse. And unless we think about it properly, it's going to be decades until we feel empowered to try again. Do you see the difference between I have no idea what happened or internalizing my failure and I understand, so I will know what to do differently, and so I will understand that it's not me that's the problem. It was just something in my process, in my approach, in my preparation. So here's how to recognize what happened. Because once you extract the lesson, you're not anymore internalizing it, and you're not anymore thinking that it can come out of nowhere. What I learned many years ago is that there is no such thing as failure. There is not failure, there's only feedback. So we have to take the feedback, so we will not be seeing the relapse as a personal fault or as something that came out of the ether and hit us out of nowhere, which makes us powerless again. Ask yourself, what happened? What was the trigger? And better yet, dive deeper. What is the thought pattern that made me smoke? Without recognizing that, you're always going to feel powerless. And you're not going to feel motivated to try again. What is the thought pattern that made me smoke? We don't smoke out of thin air. And I'm saying that I know there are a lot of quit smoking coaches watching my lives, learning from this. We never smoke because of the trigger. We smoke because of the thought pattern that happens inside of us when we encounter a trigger. We don't smoke because of an emotion. We smoke because of the thought pattern that comes in our head when we experience an emotion. So if you're going to go to the root of what caused you to relapse, you have to revisit what was the situation, the trigger, that's easier to remember, and then dive deeper into the thought pattern. And usually that thought pattern is something like this that causes a relapse. Number one, I can have just one. I can have just one. Number two, I can quit again anytime. It was so easy before. Number three, if I don't smoke, I'm going to be stressed. I'm going to keep gaining weight. Something catastrophic will happen to me. Or if I smoke, I will enhance this situation. I'm going to connect more with that person. I'm going to connect more with that friend. I'm going to feel more enjoyment. I'm going to enjoy more myself in this vacation or that party or whatever. These are the thought patterns that cause a relapse. I can have just one. I can quit anytime again. Lies, 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 lies. Something catastrophic will happen if I don't smoke, and it will enhance my situation. That's it. It comes down to this. So one of the four patterns happen to you when you experience that relapse, and understanding what it is will give you the awareness and will empower you to work on that and prepare better so you can be successful. Is that helpful? About the relapse and the thought patterns that causes to relapse. Let me know. Okay, I'm seeing your hearts. Great. So I'm going to close this call now. Final thing, if you want to learn more about the mental addiction, how to quit smoking, if you're interested in our program, if you feel like you want to quit smoking, but you're stuck, you don't know where to start, you have no idea that there is a mental addiction that affects the smoking, and this can be addressed with cognitive behavioral science, and you are just curious to learn more, you're more than welcome and encouraged to attend my free quit smoking masterclass. You will learn how quitting smoking really works based on cognitive and behavioral science, and you will also learn how you can join our program if that's something you're interested in doing. We'd love to help you. So go to civicwebinar.com to learn more. Okay, I'm saying yes, it's helpful. Great, everyone. As always, you can leave questions below. We're here to help you. And I look forward to sharing with you the upcoming Ask an X interviews that I have been doing with our amazing, inspiring members. Such amazing stories, very, very inspiring. And I cannot wait to share them with you because our members, the reason they're doing these Ask an X interviews is because they want to help and inspire others. And every time I have a conversation with one of our members and I invite someone to an Ask an X interview, this is what everyone says: if I can help just one person with my story, it would be so worth it. So I cannot wait to share those with you. You're very, very, very welcome. I'm seeing your words are helping me to learn more about myself. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. That's what I'm here for. That's my life's passion and my mission. I love helping people breaking habits and addictions. I've overcome myself because I've struggled with this myself, and it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in, spending your time with me. Everything Nasia says is true. Thank you so much. I am glad this resonates and I am able to be of help and of service to you. So thank you so much for joining, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.